So we're right in the middle of the Asian swing, and a lot of players are getting a lot of points because there's 1,000 events all over the place. Let's go have a look at who won last week, because we only had one big event. We're still in the middle of Shanghai, so we'll update the men's rankings next week, but let's go have a look at who won on the women's side. So we had Beijing last week, and Anisimova beating Noskova in the final, 6-love, 2-6, 6-2. Anisimova had a great week, beating Coco Gauff along the way as well, and Paolini. She got a boost in the rankings, but also something else as well. All right, let's have a look on the WTA side, who went up in the rankings outside the top 10. Starting with Noskova, she goes up to a career high 17 in the world, 10 spots higher than last week after making the final of a 1,000 event. Lise, she went up 21 spots to 45 in the world after having a great run in Beijing as well. And Eala continues to climb up the rankings, career high for her, 54 in the world, 4 spots higher than last week. And even though she lost in the qualifying of Wuhan, she did so well in the Challenger event over the last few weeks, so she keeps climbing. So, a couple of players there outside the top 10 that have done well this week. Players outside the top 10 that have gone down to the rankings, Mukova. She goes down 7 spots, number 22 in the world. Bolter, she also went down 7 spots, number 61 in the world. And Shrimkova goes down 13 spots to 68. So, a lot of players there that are losing points from this time last year, starting to fall down the rankings. All right, let's start on the WTA side to see who went up in the rankings this week in the top 10. No change at the top, though, with Sabalenka still well and truly at number 1, Swiatek at 2, and Gauff at 3. Anisimova at 4, and Andreeva at 5. But Pegula, she overtakes Keys, going up to number 6, pushing Keys down to number 7, and Pegula is just behind Andreeva at number 5. So, it's getting really close between those players. Paolini stays at number 8. Raducanu goes up to number 9, pushing Zhang down to number 10 after Zhang hasn't played for a few months, but also she did come back last week but didn't do so well. So the top 10 is really starting to shape up, and of course, with the last 1,000 event this week in Wuhan, still an opportunity for a lot of these players to try and change their ranking before the end of the year. All right, race to the finals now. Very important stuff. There's no change at the top, with Sabalenka still at 1 and Swiatek at 2. Anisimova, though, she goes up to number 3 after doing really well in Beijing, winning the title, of course, pushing Gauff down to number 4. Pegula, after making the semifinals, goes up to number 5, pushing Keys down number 6. Andreeva comes in at 7, Raducanu at 8, Paolini at 9, and Alexandra Eala at number 10. And with last week, we had 3 new players qualifying. Anisimova, Gauff, and Keys have all qualified for the WTA Finals, so there's only 3 spots left up for grabs. And you might be wondering, why is Keys qualified when she's lower than Pegula? It's because she won a Grand Slam, and there's a Grand Slam rule in place where if a player wins a Grand Slam but finishes in the top 20, they will automatically qualify. And plus, she's also pretty much qualified on points anyway, so is Pegula if she could just get a couple of wins next week. So, by the end of next week, we could be coming down to the last 1 or 2 spots that are up for grabs. And really, the number 8 spot is the one that's up for grabs. You got Raducanu and Paolini there fighting it out. Alexandrova pretty far behind, but you never know. One good week in Wuhan, and maybe Alexandrova could take that number 8 spot off those 2 ladies. Going to the men's side of things now, and we're right in the middle of Shanghai, so there's not anything to talk about yet, but we'll talk about this more next week. But as it stands, we've got Alcaraz at 1, Sinner at 2, Zverev at 3, and Fritz at 4. Djokovic at 5, with Shelton at 6. Demonor comes in at 7, Draper at 8, Musetti at 9, and Khachanov at number 10. And if you have been paying attention to Shanghai, a few of these players have already lost. So when we come back next week and show the updated rankings, someone like a Djokovic or maybe even a Demonor could be going up the rankings a little bit, because we have had a lot of upsets already in Shanghai. Over to the race of the finals, and still only the 2 players qualified, with Alcaraz and Sinner at 1 and 2. Zverev comes in at number 3 with Djokovic at 4. We got Fritz at 5, Shelton at 6, Demonor at 7, and Musetti at 8, Draper at 9, and Auger-Aliassime rounds out the top 10. So we've got a little bit more time on the ATP side of things to get players to qualify, but if Djokovic does do well this week, and also if Zverev does well this week, they could both qualify for the ATP Finals at the end of the year. And of course, we know, again, some of these players have already lost in Shanghai. It's an opportunity for players like Demonor and Musetti, and even Auger-Aliassime, to build on their ranking points while their opposition, such as Shelton and Fritz, have already lost out of this tournament. So there it is. Nothing to talk about really on the men's side of things until next week, because we're right in the middle of Shanghai, one of those 2-week Masters. But on the women's side, big changes, and the WTA Finals are really starting to shape up. Only a couple of players left, or a couple of spots left for those players down the bottom part of that top 8 in that race to the finals. But let me know in the comments below, who is going to qualify for the race to the finals or for the WTA Finals at the end of the year? We've got, obviously, Raducanu, we've got Paolini, we've got Pegula and Andreeva in the sort of the real good positions going into Wuhan. But, you know, Alexandrova, maybe she could make a run late. But there it is. They are the rankings for this week, and things are starting to really wrap up at the end of this year.